Welcome. Today, we are going to be ranking, tier listing, if you will, all the rage like 3 years ago. We're going to be doing a tier list of every Kodansha manga that I'm currently reading. It's a lot of the big hitters, so if you read any ongoing Kodansha manga, you'll probably recognize some of these. You might recognize some from anime very recently, or even upcoming. And there's two of them that kind of recently finished, or at least that I finished recently, that I'm going to be including in this list. So there's 12 total. And we'll just go through each one, and I'll talk about where I'm going to list them. As you can see, I only have 4 tiers because I don't hate any of these. Because if I did, I wouldn't read them. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So first up, let's talk about Orient. Now, I covered this in the winter roundup, the anime, but I'm not totally caught up with the manga, but I'm up through the end of the Awaji Island arc. I believe that's what it's called. And that's what's going to be covered in Orient Part 2, which is upcoming this summer. Really looking forward to it because the manga is fantastic. Like I said, it's by the same guy who made Magi. Same girl, maybe? Not sure. But it's fantastic. The art is unbelievable. Stylistically, it's different from any other manga that I've ever read. It's just so good. The layouts and the art itself is just unbelievable. So cool to look at. A lot of really cool details, really cool spreads, just great stuff. And the characters are, like I said, nothing to write home about, but I think the Awaji Island arc really does a good job of expanding on the cast of characters we already have, and then expanding what we know about the cast of characters we already have, Musashi, Kojiro, and the green-haired girl whose name I forget. I'm calling her Rie Takahashi until proven otherwise. But there's so many good characters introduced in this arc. There's the set of brothers whose names I forget, but they're super cool. They're this band, a family, and there's this one guy who gets super edgy basically, and he doesn't want to admit that he loves his family and all this other shit. But it's really good stuff. My favorite character is Naoe, who is actually, I learned, voiced by Hanae Natsuki, who voices Tanjiro. So big fan of that casting choice. Naoe is my favorite. He's so good. He's this little tiny motherfucker, but he's a fucking kick-ass, badass motherfucker. He's so good. Love Naoe. Michiru is the big one. She's got such a great character arc. Really excellent stuff. So I'm a big fan of her character arc with Musashi, and I think one of the ways it does a really good job in the Awaji Island arc, it separates Musashi a lot from Kojiro and Rie Takahashi. It kind of puts him in this unique spot where it really forces him to accept reality, where samurai aren't what he thought they were. And it's really cool, actually. Even the antagonists are cool, and the guy we saw in Orient Part 1, the guy who has the sword that makes the holes. That sounds weird, but he's really good, and he's got some really cool buddies as well, that whole villain arc, or the whole villain gang is really cool, and there's way more of it still left, right? I think I ended at 115 is where I stopped, and obviously I think 2 more volumes have come out since then, in Japan anyway, or volume 9 is about to come out in English, and like I said, everything leading up to it, basically everything that I covered in my review of Orient Part 1 from the spring roundup is really enjoyable. So I love the characters, I love the setting, I love the story, and there's a lot more that is still on the table that hasn't really been that we haven't explored and we don't know much about yet. So I'm really excited to go deeper into that once new volumes come out, or once I can finally read new volumes. I've been trying to read the raws, but I can't. All the sites that have raw manga are fucking down, so or my Google Chrome is you can't go there, you don't have it's gonna hack you or whatever. Anyway, with that all said, Orient still has a long way to go, and I don't want to jump to conclusions. So for now, Orient is a comfortable, very comfortable A tier. very comfortable A tier. I am going to be ranking these individually, by the way, so the ones closer to the left are going to be highest. But yeah, very comfortable A tier. Could easily move up to S tier if it keeps doing really well. So I hope it does. Next up, Eden Zero. I don't really feel like I have to talk much about this. If you know my music at all, you probably know I love Eden Zero. Obviously, I was a big fan of Fairy Tail. I started watching the anime back in 2019. When I finished the anime, it wasn't long before I realized Mashima had started a new series called Eden Zero, and I immediately started reading it, and I loved it. It's Mashima at his absolute best. Like, if you didn't like Fairy Tail but you like shonen stuff, you are going to like Eden Zero. Like, it's Fairy Tail but done right. Like, it's so good. So good. Everything about it is so good. If you were, like, maybe if you were on, especially if you're, like, on the fence about Fairy Tail, Eden Zero is what you want to read or watch. But even so, like, Mashima's art style has improved so much. Like, especially over the course of writing making Fairy Tail. So, like, the first few... the first bit of Fairy Tail is a little inconsistent, but he gradually gets better over time, and like by the time we hit Grand Magic Games and the Fairy Tail manga, it's like he's got it. But with Eden Zero, he's got it from the start. The art, the layouts, so good. Mashima is at his absolute best here, manga wise, and the characters are just I can't even like, they're all just so consistent and really well written, and their backstories all make sense, and like, it's just really, really good. And even like, I think some of the fights were underwhelming. I was hoping for a little more from Shiki versus Shura. I hope with this arc that's going on post time skip, we get some really good stuff. But there were some really good fights, like when Shiki first goes overdrive against Draken Joe. Whoo! Like, there are some really, really good fights, especially with Eden Zero Season 2 coming up. I'm really curious to see those animated, because I think some of the ones against, like, the Element 4 or whatever, maybe it's not the Element 4 in this, I forget, it's been a while, but it's just so good. I love pretty much all the characters. There's a few duds, but for the most part, Eden Zero is just, like, Mashima's perfected what he's doing. Like, you can totally still tell it's him, right? Because there's still some power friendship stuff, but it's so much more consistent than Fairy Tail. Like, it's just so good. It is my favorite shonen going right now. It's just so much good about it. Like, there's not a lot I hate or even don't like about Eden Zero. Like, there's some I'm just like, whatever. But most of it is just so consistent and good that I'm like, yes, I love it. Shiki, I think, is my favorite shonen protag going right now. He's just this kid who grew up, away from humans, isolated from other people, and inherited these awesome powers, and he just is so fun. He's so fun. Like, he's totally just like, he has the perfect balance of like the comedy act and being serious and an awesome fighter. Like, and his character is so consistent that I just can't help but love it. Like, it's so good. Like, he's a better version of Natsu. He is. Like, he just makes more sense, and he fits perfectly with the story that Eden Zero is trying to tell. And like, even the cast of side characters, like, I don't think Rebecca is better than Lucy, at least not yet, but because Lucy's a really high bar. But like, a lot of the other characters, Weiss, Homura, Jin, Clean, Laguna, like, even the Shining Stars, man, when Witch died, fuck, dude, that killed me. But yeah, so much good stuff, and like, it's just like Fairy Tail in that the world is like so fucking huge. Like, you've got the Irrational States Galactica, the Irrational States Interstellar, like the fucking Union Army or whatever. Like, there's so many other characters too, and they're also like interesting because there's mystery about them, and that's what was a part of what was so good about Fairy Tail, and it's still here in Eden Zero, and it's just so good. One thing I did not like about Fairy Tail was Happy. He got better over time, but like at the beginning of Fairy Tail, I could not fucking stand him because he was so annoying. On the other hand, in Eden Zero, Pino is a mascot done right. Like, Mashima loves the cute mascots. Pino is good. Like, she doesn't interfere where she's not welcome, and she's cute, and she's happy-go-lucky, very nicely done. Like, I don't have any complaints about Pino. And like I said, I like pretty much all the characters. Like, they're all very distinct. They have their own powers. They're all good. I do think, like, you know, some of the arcs, like, especially the previous one, pre-time skip, the Aoi War or whatever, there's a little too much overdrive in my opinion, but a lot of it, like, was very fairy tale-esque, where it was like, we're thinking back to this part of our backstory that we just now remembered and is gonna cause us to have a power-up. Whatever. It's fine. Eden Zero is a comfortable S. Easy. Like, like I said, it's my favorite shonen going right now, and if you, like, even had a little bit of an inkling that you might like fairy tale, read Eden Zero. It is so good. So good. I cannot recommend it enough. Like, the anime is great. Like, I will not knock the anime, because it was so good, and, like, some of the sequences in the anime are fucking awesome. It's way better visually than the fairy tale anime. Absolutely. So if you want to experience Eden Zero, the anime is a great way to do that. But if you're a manga reader, I absolutely recommend the manga. Like, it is so good. So good. I can't say enough good things about it. It's just so much fun. Like, it's what everything I want, at least personally, out of, like, a shonen. Because it's got this really nice balance of, like, action and comedy and good character writing. It's just so good. Mashima's absolutely killing it with Eden Zero. And this arc that's ongoing now has really got me hook, line, and sinker. So, I can't complain. Next up is the new kid on the block, Gachiyakta. And this is kind of a passing of the torch type thing. The same week that Fire Force ended, one of Okubo's assistants, I don't remember his name, but released the first chapter of Gachiyakta. I think maybe he was a former assistant, but it was in Okubo's, like, final note or whatever, he said, if you like any of my work, read Gachiyakta. And so I did. The first chapter was a really good hook. It's very distinct. It's very unique. Like, every time I check, like, a raw manga page or whatever, there's a bunch of manga that, like, you know, we'll never get English translations. Like, they're gonna be duds, whatever. I don't think there are a lot of manga going right now that are like Gachiyakta. Okubo's work has always been a little distinct. And it is true here with his former assistant, however you want to say it, with Gachiyakta. It's very distinct, and the art style is very reminiscent of Soul Eater. So, I'm a big fan of the artwork, and again, there's only 10, 12 chapters-ish out right now, I don't remember exactly, but I do like where it's going so far. Again, it's just started, and I don't know a whole lot about the characters, and that's one weird thing, like, it's a little bit slow with, like, us understanding the characters. It kind of just dropped the kid into, like, the abyss or whatever, and then we just started meeting a bunch of new people all in a row. But the vibes are really nice, really distinct, like, steampunky. The powers are interesting. We still need to explore those a little more, in my opinion, but they're interesting, and for what it is, I think it's a B tier. Again, I really like it. I think it could jump up to an A tier. I do really like it, but again, it's just too early. So, if you do like Soul Eater or Fire Force, definitely read Gachiyakta. It's, like I said, it's only 10 something chapters right now. I definitely recommend it. Like, it's just fun, very, like, comfortable read, and it's cool to see, like, where someone who used to work with Okubo is, like, going with their work now. So it's pretty cool. Big fan, but again, still too early. So next up is Gate of Nightmares, which, those of you who don't know, Gate of Nightmares is a gacha that Hiro Mashima actually designed all the characters for. So he's not making the manga, of course, he's got too much on his plate already, but someone else is making the manga. Again, I don't remember their name, but it's like a bi-weekly thing, and I don't think it's based on the actual game's plot. So it's kind of its own little entity. It's a little confusing. I imagine the game itself is a little confusing. The characters aren't bad or anything. They're kind of, Azel and Emma, is that her name? They're kind of just a dumbed down version of Natsu and Lucy. I guess it's, for what it is, it's not bad. It's just kind of like, whatever. You know, like, I don't really care one way or the other. I was mostly just curious, like, you know, about the characters that Mashima designed, and kind of hoping to figure out what the game was about. I actually have the game on my phone. I've never touched it, but yeah, I was just curious. There's a little baby dragon. There's, Emma's got a little fairy. It's cute, and like, again, it's pretty early. It's in its lifespan. It's like 12 chapters, 14, whatever, something around there. Again, for what it is, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's gonna go for too long. But again, it's cool. It's cute. I don't have much to complain about, but I also don't have a lot good to say about it. It needs to keep going, I guess, because like the first 12-ish chapters or whatever I've read up to this point, it's like kind of just okay. Like, I think it's in the same vein as Gachiyakta. I prefer Gachiyakta, so putting it B tier. It could be like, it could go up or down. Like, I don't really know. Like, it's very very strange, but I do think it's cute. And so if you want to like just a little casual fantasy thing, Gate of Nightmares is pretty cute. I like it. So Rent-A-Girlfriend. So I have feelings, right? I usually do. Sorry, I caught up with the Rent-A-Girlfriend manga early this year. It was okay. It was okay, and then it got good, right? Like, here's the thing. Miyajima is definitely fallen hook, line, and sinker into the whole, oh, my books are selling well, so I'll drag out the thing. That's what's happening. Rent-A-Girlfriend absolutely should have ended around the 160, 170 mark-ish. Whenever it was they finished the movie. Because it started out okay. It started out kind of weird, right? Kazuya might be my least favorite protagonist right now because he does have his moments, right? He does have his moments, but just the fact that he is just like an unfiltered fucking virgin loser. Like, there's not a lot wrong with that inherently, but even virgin losers are as much of a virgin loser as this guy. Like, literally any affection from a woman is just like, oh no, her titties are right there, what am I gonna do? Like, dude, have some restraint. Literally have any amount of respect for the women around you. It's insane. I don't even care that he looks at their titties or whatever. Whatever, dude. I look at them too, but like, he can't handle attention from anyone. And it's frustrating, because I don't know, it makes me angry. Like, there's no reason to have a protagonist be this much of a virgin loser. Like, it's literally like this guy has just, like, never seen another woman in his life. Like, I was about to say he's never interacted with another woman, but that was probably true before this manga started. Because, like, the shtick gets so old. Like, you know what? Like, if there was any sign of progress being made, like, in terms of that whole virgin loser thing, like, he didn't even have to lose his virginity to become not a virgin loser, right? He could have become a Chad, but he just didn't. He's literally at the exact same mental level at chapter, like, 233 or whatever, as he was at chapter 2. Like, there's no sign of growth there. Like, he's progressed so much with Chizuru and, like, all these other girls, and yet he still doesn't have the balls to do anything. Like, literally, he can't even send Chizuru a text without fucking freaking out for 2 pages. It's ridiculous. That's why I was so baffled that I liked the movie arc, right? Because it was probably like 50 chapters or something. It might have been too long. Again, Yajima's totally dragging that shit out. But, like, I liked it. For what it was, I thought it was good. And, like, you know, if you want to talk about dragging out, I remember the chapter after Mizuhara, like, Chizuru, whatever, fucking Chizuru, like, the chapter immediately after she was like, yeah, we're actually dating, yes, and they, or, like, kissed or whatever, it was not even a chapter. Like, it was, like, 20 pages of, like, full page, like, Kazuya blushing and then Chizuru blushing. Like, there's no reason for it. Like, it was unbelievable. And I'm like, that was a chapter? That was real? Like, God. But the movie arc was good. Like, it almost looks like we were making progress. Like, characters were being developed, and even like Ruka and all the other girls had like active roles to play in that arc where Chizuru was the main star in that movie or whatever that they were making. Like, it was good, and it should have ended after that. Like, he literally got the whole, like, Chizuru's grandma died. That should have been the last thing. That should have been it. But like, her grandma died. Kazuya takes her out. She like does the whole crying in his arms thing. That should have been the end. Not, of course, right there. They should have kissed, whatever. Like, that should have been the end. But instead, we're like 60 chapters after that. And yet, like, we're barely making any progress. Like, even after they were like trying to, you know, they kissed each other to like ward off the family onslaught, we're still back to square one. Like, immediately. Like, she spends like, what, 3 months? There's like a time skip. A Rent-A-Girlfriend time skip. Like, 3 months where Chizuru just never talks to Kazuya. Like, I am so mad. I'm so mad. I'm so angry. I'm so pissed. If Rent-A-Girlfriend ended at like chapter 180 or whatever the fuck, it would have been a B tier, but now it's a C tier. Like, it just should not have continued from there. Like, it's been so boring since then. Like, it's just mommy coming in and making a fuss for no fucking reason at all. Like, I literally forgot she existed before she showed up, like, right after the movie arc. I was so pissed. I'm like, dear fucking God, why isn't this over? Like, I'm so mad. I'm so angry. Next up is Amagamisan, or Tying the Knot with an Amigami Sister. That's what it's called in English. This, again, kind of in the same vein as Gachiyakta, this is actually by a former assistant of Negi Haruba's, who worked on Quince. Definitely shares a lot of themes and similarities with Quince, for sure. I mean, you don't even have to look past the fact that the three love interests are sisters. They're not the same age in this one, and the protagonist is a Chad. So just like Futaro, Uryu is a Chad, absolute Chad. The three girls are alright, nothing to write home about, really. They're pretty good for what they are, and I quite like the whole ribbons theme. Like, it really works with the Tying the Knot translation. I really like the whole ribbon theme and like Uryu like repeating some days and shit. It like kind of makes sense. You know, we've seen that back with like Bunny Girl Senpai, what have you. But I actually like it in this context. And the way he interacts with the three girls is actually really nice. Again, it's still ongoing. It's like 50-something chapters out right now. And I don't know how long it's going to go. But it doesn't look like it's anywhere close to being done, and I quite like the vibes. It's just very cozy. Yuna, I think is her name, the red-haired one. She annoys me a little bit, but she's a tsundere, so that's kind of the point. It needs to prove itself still, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, if it can go on and like keep doing as well as it is, it'll be really, really good. But until then, it's comfortably a B tier. Definitely, it could have been an A tier, but it's absolutely comfortably a B tier, very nearly A tier. I really like it, and I just need it to like keep progressing the way it is, because, you know, I really like the whole, like, a lot of the themes going on. Yuna's like whole, you know, I don't know, she's fucking trying to figure out if God exists. Good for her, I guess. The little sister, her whole running thing, and the older sister, I forget their fucking names, I'm an idiot, but the oldest sister and her like painting or whatever. It's been a while, but I really like it. I do like it. So if you want something that's very similar to Quince, with the protagonist who's legitimately a Chad, absolutely Amagami-san is the way to go. Big fan of that one, for sure. So, next up, Girlfriend, or Kanojo mo Kanojo. This one is very strange. I don't know why I started reading it, really. I think I just like have a death wish. Like, I just like inflicting pain on myself. Regardless, it does have its moments, but the thing that frustrates me about it is that it has a very hard time progressing. Can you believe it? Like, it really just struggles to like make any significant progress in any like comfortable amount of time. Like, God, so like the most recent progress we actually made was in the beach trip arc, where Shino, I believe, the white-haired girl, confessed to Naoya. That's the one. Okay. So Shino confessed to Naoya, and that took like 10 chapters. It was long and drawn out, and it really frustrated me. And then even after that happened, it's just back to fucking like stalling. Like they had like a whole chapter like after it ended, like Naoya and Saki had their first kiss. I started reading after the anime ended from last summer. Was it last summer? I can't remember. It must have been the summer before. I don't remember. Saki and Naoya had their first kiss like at the beach, and then like after the beach ended, like 2 chapters after the beach arc ended, there was like a whole chapter where Saki was like, I'm gonna kiss Naoya again, and then like tried the whole day to pull something off and then just didn't. And that's the whole like, that's the kind of thing that frustrates me. I mean, even recently, like the last chapter I read was where Rika and Saki were doing their live stream collab, and it's cute and it's like kind of funny. Like the characters are all really sweet, but like, and Naoya, like as a protagonist, I actually don't mind too much because he's really good with the whole like brutally honest all the time. Like it just kind of works, especially with the story that the manga is trying to tell, like the whole quadruple dating scenario. It just kind of works. That said, I really like, well, what gets me into a manga is like constant progression, right? Like I love all the characters. I do, like Saki, Nagisa, Rika, Shino. I love all of them. They're all great, and like, you know, they're all like very distinct. They've all like got their own motivations. It all just it does work to an extent, but it just doesn't go anywhere. Like I feel like the amount of progress that has been made in like the 100-something chapters that it has out right now could have been done in like 60 or less. Like it's just kind of annoying. So with that being said, it'll be a C tier. Definitely higher than Rent a Girlfriend, but still C tier. It's fine, but it does frustrate me. Next up, you want to talk about rom-coms, a couple of Cuckoos coming out this season. The anime is coming out this season, and I'm a huge fan. Yoshikawa Miki, Yoshikawa, he does a fantastic job. He's a very distinct art style. It's not like amazing or anything, but it's very distinct. And I really, really like it. It's very like comfortable in what it is. It's easily the best rom-com in WSM right now, in Weekly Shonen Mag. Easily the best one. Even just general rom-coms, like Cuckoos is absolutely at the top that are ongoing. And if it ends like with a reasonable amount of time, like if it ends by like 150, because I think it's like 110 or something out right now. If it ends by like 150, it'll be one of the best. Like absolutely, because I do feel like it's kind of getting close to rounding everything up, and it's done a great job over the whole thing of like blending the characters' feelings with the situations they're in, and just letting them be themselves. And you know, mixing in some funny situations, some funny commentary. Its humor does work, and then just letting the characters be real with each other. Like that's big. Like the characters are much more honest in Cuckoos than they are in just about any other high school rom-com. Like you don't even have to look further than Rent a Girlfriend. I mean, you can look at fucking Nisekoi, anything. Like it has such a good blend of like, you know, where do you draw the line of like what you want to say versus what you don't want to say, and like to what extent do you want to be like honest, like with your own feelings to people who deserve to know your feelings, that kind of thing. Cuckoos does a great job of like handling romance in a way that feels real, especially given the bizarre situation that Nagi and Erika are in. Like it just does a really good job showing their relationship, as well as like Nagi's struggle with his relationship with Erika versus his relationship with Hiro versus his relationship with Sachi versus his relationship with Ai. Like because the love interest list has remained pretty stagnant this whole time, it's done a really good job of controlling itself and progressing, right? It does feel like the characters are growing and their feelings are developing in a way that makes sense. It's just good. I really, really like it. Like, even a lot of the extra characters, like Nagi's adoptive parents, not his biological, but even Nagi's biological parents too, they're all very distinct, and they play their, like, side bit roles very well. And when they do get involved, it's usually to shake it up, right? Like, I really like that they don't, like, try to get the other, like, side characters, like the parents, too involved. Like, Yoshikawa has just done a great job throughout. Like, he's been really killing it. And again, as long as it wraps up relatively soon, like by next year, we'll be in good shape. Like, I think it'll genuinely be one of the best high school rom-coms ever. Like, really, really good. Like, one of my absolute favorite lines, I mentioned this on a Firestorm video, but one of my absolute favorite fucking lines from Cuckoos that you never hear is Erica says, "I don't have feelings for you yet." It perfectly represents what I like about Cuckoos, right? Because there is a stage in romance where you're not sure if you like someone all the way, if you're willing to commit, if you're willing to say, yes, I like this person. Cuckoos acknowledges that that's a thing. And, like, no other rom-com is gonna do that. Like, maybe they do that, but, like, the characters themselves acknowledge that it's a thing. Like, and they say it out loud. And it only takes, like, one chapter to get Erica to that point. Like, maybe half a chapter even. Like, it's so good. Like, it's just like, yes, we're at a stage where we're still getting to know each other. We're still figuring out what our feelings are. It's just great. And I love all the characters, too. Like, Erica, Hiro, Nagi. Nagi's great. Like, so good. Such a good protagonist. Like, I wouldn't call Nagi a Chad, but he's not a Chad, right? Like, he's, like, very, very much bordering on Chad, and, like, at the same time, he's still, like, awkward and quirky enough to really carry himself well in the scenarios that he's in, where he's, like, surrounded by these girls who are all pretty much kind of normies, but he's, like, quirky and, like, studious and lonerish just enough, just the right amount to, like, really play off these other characters nicely. And, like, his dynamics with his love interests are all fantastic. Like, so good. I especially am a big fan of his dynamic with Erica. I'm not saying anything. I think Erica is my favorite, but, like, even with the others too, like, his, like, kind of friendly rivalry with Hiro, like, his trying to figure out the whole brother-sister thing with Sachi, and the childhood friend thing with Ai. It all works. I'm just a big fan. Like, Cuckoos is comfortably an A tier. Absolutely. Like, so good. So good. Big fan. If you want to read a rom-com, telling you, Cuckoos is it. Next up, Goddess Cafe Terrace. I do believe the mangaka of this has a lot of experience. I haven't read any of his other work, but I dove into this one not really knowing what to expect. And while it does get a little out of control, like recently it's been getting a little out of control, like pretty much everything leading up to this point where, like, the rivalry between the other cafe that started up randomly because some guy got pissed has been really good. I'm a big fan of what it's done so far. It's definitely more of a casual read, so, like, it just, like, kind of gets you right in there with all the dynamics and stuff. And honestly, like, the first chapter is kind of, like, it's a bit deceptive because the first chapter is really not what the rest of the manga is like. It's very cozy. I'm a big fan. Like, all the 5 waitress girls are all really fun. Like, very distinct personalities. It's a big thing. But, like, they all also have their own personal motivations that are all different and unique and interesting. And it really helps build their characters in a cool way. You want to talk about Chads? Motherfucking Hayato is an absolute fucking Chad. Like, there's not another Chad in rom-coms that is much of a Chad as fucking Hayato. This dude rocks. This man single-handedly fucking forces this manga to progress. It's so good. Like, he just does not give a shit. And it's awesome. Like, he just does things, and it's so fucking cool. There's so many moments where he's, like, helping out the girls, and he's like, Do you really think I give a shit about what you think? I'm gonna let these girls work at my damn cafe, and if you have to say otherwise, fuck you. I'm gonna kick you in the balls right now. Like, he literally does not care. I mean, he didn't ever say that, but if he did, I would not be surprised, and it's basically what he says anyway. Like, so good. Huge fucking fan of Cafe Terrace. Like, I love, like, all the characters. Again, very cozy. Like, there's not a whole lot of, in terms of, like, actual story progression, but, like, there's a lot of, like, backstory that gets addressed between each of the 5 waitresses, and like Riko especially. I think she's my favorite. Riko, the band girl, the girl who like sings or whatever, and then like when the rival cafe shows up, it's it does get pretty interesting. But now like all the rival girls have moved into the other cafe and it's all hectic and shit. It's a bit wild. So right now it's a bit funky, but up to this point, it's been great. Even the comedy, like, Ami, the blue hair girl, her whole fucking dunce shtick actually works. So, there's a lot of good stuff in this. Like, if you really just want a casual, very casual feeling rom-com to read, Cafe Terrace is absolutely the way to go. Like, huge fan. I don't think it's as good as Cuckoos, but it is comfortably an A tier. For sure. I know some people might not like it as much as I do. Hayato is such a Chad, and I like all the girls. Like, their characters are great. And I'm just a big fan of what's going on there. So, good stuff. Again, I don't know how long it's going to go. I don't really have a good feeling for that right now. But, hopefully it doesn't go too long and wraps itself up nicely. I think it'll go for a while longer yet, but we'll see. Alright, next up, 100 Years Quest. This still needs to prove itself. I do like what's happened so far. I do. I think Fairy Tail is the only thing you can say where it's like, we're 120 chapters in, but I still feel like I'm too early to say anything about it, you know? There's still a lot we have yet to discover, and like, you know, some of the Dragon Gods have already gone down, and that's cool and everything, and even like some of the arcs leading up to this point where we are, which is fucking awesome, by the way, has been good. They've been good. I really liked the Alderaan arc, the thing where Natsu goes ballistic. Very cool. Very excited to see that in the anime. It's going to be cool, and I'm super excited. Like, here's the thing. 100 Years Quest could be an absolute dud. I do not care as long as the fight between Natsu and Ignia is really good. Like, if Natsu and Ignia have a good fight at the end, I'm sold. Like, Ignia is so cool. He is so cool. Like, you know, he was whatever. Like, you know, he was just like Ignia's son when he first came in. But now that he's back, dude, this man is a monster. Like, no one can beat his swag. Like, he's just so good. Like, he's, like, overall, he probably doesn't beat Zeref or Ziggy, but he's just so cool. Like, you can't deny how cool he is. Like, this motherfucker Ignia, he's so cool. So cool. And a lot of the fights, like, even in the recent arc, have been pretty underwhelming. I think Loxus just started fighting the coffin guy again, which is fine. Like, Wendy's fight against Haku, Urza's fight against whoever, like, the other chick who died, or didn't die, no one dies in Fairy Tail, but, you know, except for Zeref, apparently. And Simon, rest in peace. Again, it's still too early, and, like, there have been some good fights, like, here and there, and I don't know what's gonna happen with Suzaku and the others at this point. And you know, what the fuck's gonna happen to Celine? Again, it's just too early. I don't know enough yet. So that's why I do really like 100 Years Quest. I do feel like my boy Gray could use some oomph. That's all I'm saying. Just give my boy Gray a little something something, and we'll be in good shape. You know? Like, Gray has done a whole lot of jack. Just give my boy Gray a little something something. Let loose. I mean, the Stardress mix, cool, great. You know, Wendy having Irene is cool. Urza still doing Urza things. And Natsu, just give Natsu a good fight with Ignia. I'm sold, right? Sold. Just give my boy Gray a little something and let Natsu and Ignia have an awesome fight at the end. Like, fucking 10 chapters. Just let it fucking go. Like, that's all I want. Dude. Like, when... There's nothing cooler in Fairy Tail than when Natsu gets fucking pumped up. Like, and he fucking fights bitches. Yes. Dude, Natsu and Ignia... Fuck. Dude, I'm gonna ejaculate just thinking about it. Next up. Fire Force. So again, now we're moving on to stuff that has already ended. We're gonna do 2 more. They've both already ended. Fire Force is first. As Okubo's like last work, I really like Fire Force. I really, really like Fire Force. There's a lot to love about it. One thing I really do like is, I think it might have like just the abilities, the power system, and like the way the fire generation and control works amongst the 2nd and 3rd gens. And even how the 1st gen pyrokinetics get involved. Like, the power system is very consistent. And I really like that about it, but even more than that, I love the setting, the world building, and the storytelling of Fire Force. Like, there's so much mystery as you read. Like, it's just so good. Like, as the mystery of Dola, like, builds up, and, like, you get weirder and weirder, like, it's so good. Like, and honestly, like, I love all the characters, too. Like, it has one of my favorite, like, sets of characters, like, overall. In terms of like recent new gen shonen, like absolutely, I love all the characters, like Shinra, Arthur, fucking Maki, Tamaki, fucking Hiroa, Captain, what's his face, fucking Vulcan, his girlfriend, creepy scientist man, like all of them, they're all good, and like, again, this is a really good balance of like comedy and action. I do think like the progression is a bit odd to me, like kind of, I guess, like the arcs, if you will, like the progression of arcs is a bit strange. And let me tell you what, when I first read, I think it must have been volume like 25, and like just some fucking lady, like actual just Japanese lady, fucking showed up in my manga, and she started spouting off this bullshit. I was like, I'm still reading Fire Force, right? And like the whole thing with the Dola, like, you know, fucking like Adola being like the world of perception, and like, you know, the first great cataclysm ended the real world, like the world that we actually live in, and then like Adola is like the world of perception, and so like when humans wished for a new world to be created, it became an anime. That's what I like to think anyway. But dude, the whole Adola stuff is really, really cool and really interesting. Like Okubo's always like confronted like death and stuff like that in a really interesting and I guess quirky way. Like, it's like, I remember reading like someone translated the note he left in volume 34, the last volume, and it was like, you know, death is the one thing that, you know, nobody knows what it's like, and it's like, oh, that's fucky, but you know, existential crisis time, whatever. But like, just building up Fire Force, you know what, I'll be honest, I didn't really like the ending too much. I do think the storytelling made sense, like Sho Kusakabe and Dead Mama showing up, cool. The whole like becoming a god, you kind of lost me a little bit. Shinra Bansho Man, I get it, like it's bit, right? Like, you know, he was calling Shinra Bansho Man like half the time anyway, whatever. And he actually becomes Shinra Bansho Man and makes the world of Soul Eater. Dude, fucking plot twist. Where are my Soul Eater volumes? I don't know. But Fire Force is really good. That's what I'm saying. I really like Fire Force. Like, dude, the anime, dude, that shit makes me nut, bro. Like, the fucking action sequences in Fire Force are just so good. So good. And again, Iris. I forgot fucking Sister Iris. She's my favorite. I love her so much. I would do anything for Sister Iris. And that reminds me, one of my favorite chapters in Fire Force is actually like the little bit where she and Shinra go to like the church or whatever. Like, that shit is absolutely fucking adorable. Like, Oh my god. And then like you kind of like learn like just those two like talking. I really like it. And like the whole like 7 Adola, is it 8 Adola bursts? 8. Like that whole stuff, like, and then Iris being the last one, that one kind of confused me. But the whole Iris being the 8th Adola burst, kind of whack, and it didn't really get it, like, you didn't really explore that. It just kind of like happened, and then she was like into Adola. It's like, oh, girl, right by. I mean, again, for what it was, I was also missing more of Amaterasu. I wanted more involvement from her because I do felt like you know, she was like there that one time when Shinra and Arthur fought, like she took over Shinra's body, and then she was just like she never came back. Like, and she didn't even really have anything to do with the final conflict. It was all just Haumea going fucking insano style. You know, like it's interesting to consider the whole like, this is what the world wants. We yearn for destruction. You know, everyone's in agony all the time. What have you. There's a lot to consider with Fire Force, but even besides the whole, like, real implications, it's just a fun shonen. Like, for those of you who have read it, Arthur versus Dragon. Do I even have to say anything else, right? Like, that is so good. Because Arthur here's the thing. Shinra had a lot of really good fights, like, throughout the whole thing. Shinra had a lot of good fights, like Captain Burns comes to mind. But yeah, like he had a lot of good fights throughout. Like he had some good fights. Arthur never really got much, but then when he fought Dragon, bro, whoo, oh, dude, when Arthur fought Dragon, oh my god, that is so good. That was absolutely fucking ballistic insane. That was like Chainsaw Man levels of insane. Like, oh my god. Fire Force is an S tier. It's not as good as Eden Zero. It's not. But easy S tier. Fire Force is so good. And fuck, dude. Like, Okubo, fucking his art. His art is so good. So good in Fire Force. Like, the manga is unbelievable. It looks so good. Anyway, Fire Force is awesome. Last thing I want to talk about is quintuplets. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it. It's an S tier. So, I remember, like, starting the anime. It must have been in 2019, whenever it first came out. Never really thought much of it. And, you know, there were a lot of, like, good things that I just never really paid attention to. I went back and read the manga at the end of last year, and Negi Haruba did a fantastic job with it. Like 100%. It's my favorite rom-com. 100%. Quince is absolutely my favorite rom-com as of right now. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm just kind of like, originally I was actually going to do a whole video about why Quince is my favorite rom-com. I don't really feel the need to do that. If you want to know why, you can check out my new EP. It's called Go Under Silver Storm. You can listen to my new EP, and hope you like it. There's a lot of reasons why I really like Quince. First of all, like, it progresses, right? It's not too long. There's a steady progression over time, and even though like a lot of the actual activities are like fucking ripped from every other high school rom-com in existence. You know, you got the school fair, you got the school trip, you got fucking skiing, fucking getting a part-time job, the whole fucking 9 yards. It still progresses, and there's backstory with the characters. Like, and even when you think it's fucking over, it's not. It throws you for a loop, and is like, now, and if I'm gonna say it, Yotsuba, she is like, wait a minute, this is bad, and fucking like dips. And of course she eventually is like, yeah, okay, let's date. But just the fact that she at first is like, now hold on, no, wait a minute, like that in itself is enough to like kind of throw you for a loop. Like that already distinguishes it, right? Like even that in itself. But even aside from that, like, the growth between all 5 of the sisters is delightful. Like, despite them all being sisters, they all have very distinct personalities, motivations, reasons they do what they do. And, man, like, no matter how frustrating they are at the start, like, and they're all frustrating at the start, except for, like, maybe Miku and Yotsuba, but, like, they're all frustrating at the start. They all within 122 chapters, might I add, 5 love interests are developed enough in their feelings and in their characters to have totally changed their like their tunes. To have like totally changed their tunes. It's impressive. It's really impressive. It never drags on. Like, it's always progressing. Even though it doesn't feel like it, if you look deeper, it's totally going somewhere. And it's really impressive. Like, I really like it. One of the things I really like about Quince that you don't see in many other rom-coms is, like, the girls are all involved with each other because they're sisters, right? Like, they're sorting out their feelings for their tutor. Like, they not only have to overcome themselves in, like, saying, yes, I like this fucking... Well, Futar's a Chad, he is. But, like, you know, he's a bit of a loser. I like this guy. They have to overcome their own, like, their own personal walls and be like, yes, I have feelings for this dude. But they also have to come to terms with the fact that they all, as sisters, like, have to work that shit out amongst each other. Because they're not ever gonna, like, lose each other. They're always gonna have each other. And, like, they're, like, individual feelings for the same guy. They're always trying to, like, do something to maybe get them ahead, but they're always constantly trying to, like, get back on the same page. And by the final arc, the school fair or whatever, that shit is, like, you're there, right? Like, they're all on the same page. They all realize what's going on. And, I mean, like, that's so good. And, I mean, if you want to talk about fucking them being sisters, this sounds stupid to say, but one of the things I really like about it is that because they're all sisters, the fact that, like, none of them is more attractive than the other ever comes into play. Like, they can't use that as leverage. Like, they can't use the fact that their titties are bigger as leverage because they're all the fucking same. Like, the fact that they're all sisters, like, works to this manga's benefit. Absolutely. Because, again, they have to, like, sort their feelings out with themselves, but also with their family. And that includes their, like, fucking stepfather or whoever. Like, their mom being dead, like, their biological dad coming back into the fray. Like, there's so much good stuff. Like, it all works to, like, each character's benefit. Like, like the way their arcs, like, conclude is just so good. And it all works for, like, who they are and who they've been up to this point, right? Again, I can't say enough good things about Quince. It's such a good rom-com. Like, you do have to try. You can't just, like, if you want to get everything you can out of it, you do have to, like, think a little bit. But if you give it that chance, it's gonna reward you. So it's really, really good. I mean, the fact that there's not a single one of the sisters who I actively dislike, like, that's enough, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just so good. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. It left me with feelings. So much feelings, in fact, that I wrote 5 songs about them. Well, I mean, it was proof of concept, of course, but, there's some personal feelings in there, too, about real women, which I firm preference for anime women. Quince is really good. Read it. Like, straight up. Like, 122 chapters. Take you, like, 2 or 3 weeks, max. Like, I literally read a volume a day for 2 weeks. Done. Easy. I love Quince. Wow. That's wild. You better believe I'm going to be doing more of these. Once I read a couple more light novels, a lot, I'm going to do one of these about all the light novels that I'm reading, which is going to be a big one. And once I'm caught up on another manga, I'm going to read Yosakura Family. I'm going to do one of these for Shonen Jump. So look out for that. For like Viz, I guess I'll include Viz manga, like just general Viz manga, probably. Since some of the stuff has moved off Shonen Jump, like Ayakashi Triangle moved off Shonen Jump. But yeah, I probably won't have much else to say because, you know, a lot of the Shonen Jump stuff, like, I don't feel like I need to convince anyone that it's good, but, you know, like, I don't need to fucking convince anyone Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia are good, you know? Like, they're fucking awesome. But, you know, I'll do more of these. Of course, I have some more regular videos planned, I think. I need to look into that, actually, but yeah. Hope y'all enjoyed this. And I'll do more later, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!